It helps if you unmute yourself, right? I've never done that one before. Anyway, let's start again. My name is Julianne Meyer, and I'm the host of Own Your Wellness. And I am so excited because today, not only do I have one, but I have two very special guests, Danny Murphy and Liz, I almost said Lynn, Liz Sanchez. Lynn, sorry, what is going on with me today? My goodness. Wow. You'd think I wouldn't even know her. But anyway, they are from Stop Before You Start. And this is an organization that is near and dear to my heart. And I have actually had the honor and the privilege of working with them before when they were putting together their documentary. What was it called? When you premiere it, a premiere. So anyway, since I seem to be messing this up, I'm just going to bring in our guests right now because I want to get going on a fun conversation. Hey guys, sorry about that. Oh my goodness. I don't know.
Okay.
Must be nervous right here.
Okay, Jillian.
So I'm so excited to have you both here. As I mentioned before, Stop Before You Start. Not everybody knows who you are and what this is about. So I would love for you each to share a little bit about who you are and how and what Stop Before You Start is.
All right. My name is Danny Murphy. I'm the founder of Stop Before You Start. So basically what happened was this lady over here, she's a school teacher. So I used to volunteer my services to her school and just go in there and then talk to students about, share my story about my recovery and talk to kids. And I used to bring in a bunch of people that I know that are in recovery, and we would go and we would share. And this one particular day, this is a true story. It's kind of crazy. I get chills. But this one particular day, I was there and I was falling asleep, like literally falling asleep when the guy was sharing his testimony. And in the middle of the testimony, his whole family got murdered by drugs and alcohol, and it woke me up like out of the, and I went, oh, like this inner voice said, you need to do something before these kids cross the line with addiction. Mm-hmm. And I came home that night and I was sharing with Lynn, and we were dating at the time. We were just starting to date. And I told her, I said, I had this idea and this happened, and she thought I was crazy. And then, I asked for help, and then we started talking about like stop. And then before it just all came up, and there we are. It just came from I just went somewhere to just do what I usually do, try to be of service to somebody. And it came out to be this great idea. And then here we are.
I love that.
Yeah. So for me, as Danny mentioned, I'm a high school educator. I've been in the public school system for 15 years, and I love what I do. And familiar with recovery in my own life and different elements of recovery. And so when I would, have Danny come to my classes, I teach primarily accelerated juniors and seniors. I couldn't get over the captivity that these students had in listening to him and these guests that he would bring. They were just, completely almost in a trance listening to them. And I thought, oh my gosh. And all I kept thinking was more kids, more students in this age especially need to hear this. And so when he came up with this idea of building this and perhaps bringing it to more schools and to the public and into our community, I thought, well, it sounds crazy, but it's actually so much a better use, right, of his time and to exponentially hope that this would grow for the use of many people who are suffering quietly often, especially students. So that's how we got started.
Well, and the whole idea was if one kid was in the audience that felt indifferent, that maybe we could reach them. And through this whole journey, since 2015, I mean, there's been a lot of challenges, of course, but the first day of the premiere that we did the documentary at the church, this is completely a true story. A girl showed up that didn't want to go. She got a phone call at the last moment. Okay. And she didn't want to go. And right before the phone call, she had a gun in her mouth.
Oh, wow.
And she put it down and she went to this event that we were doing. And she was just like, something happened to her at the event. It changed her. And then she came along with us and she did schools and she did some film with us. And she talked about how it was being bullied in schools. And I think that was really, I mean, I felt of all this time, what I've done, if I could just save one person's life, was it worth it? And I could say yes.
And I'll just add, Julianne, that, you know, for me, what's been really magnificent, I think of that word, is that when students on a high school campus know that one teacher is identifiable in recovery, and willing, you know, to be a listener, right, to these kids who have so much stress in their lives and so much anxiety that perhaps you and I really don't understand as when we were going to school. And I know I'm older than you, but, you know, it's really become a huge issue. I have so many students who have IEPs and 504s, all to do with anxiety and depression. And it's just escalated over the years. And so when they know that I'm one of those people that they can go to because of Stop Before You Start coming and me being able to identify with them, for them, it's been a tremendous opportunity in my profession. And I'm so grateful.
I love that. And, you know, something that comes to mind for me is that it helps with the stigma, because it makes it okay. And it, for kids to come forward and say, hey, this is something that I'm dealing with right now and I need help. Whereas if you don't open the door for them, then there's no door for them to go through necessarily. So I love that you guys are doing this. I'm so glad that it's taken off. It's just such an amazing program. I mean, I don't even want, it's a movement. Where can people see the documentary?
Well, you could just go to YouTube. Just go to YouTube and just push in Stop Before You Start, and the documentary should come up there. Oh, this is great. You're gonna love this one. So in the documentary, this is a true story. Again, I always say these true stories, but I knew I was on the right path at the time that we were doing all this. Prior to this, there was a blind surfer guy, and he had a movie that came out. And Lynn and I went to the movie theater and we're like, I don't think we want to see this movie. Let's go see that blind surfer movie. And when we left the theater where we were at and we snuck into the blind surfer movie, and it was about this guy that was blind, and he was a surfer, right? And when I opened my documentary up, I was able to get a contact through a friend, and in my documentary, he opens up the documentary for me.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So
It's a great story of his story, but it's just like he, you know, because he was blind his whole life, you know, and
well, I think the message really is, you know, you can overcome, right?
Yeah,
you can overcome
any challenges. Yes. Yes.
So, it's great.
I love that. I didn't know that. That's really cool. So Danny, obviously, for those of you who are watching, I've known Danny just about as long as I've lived in California. He's been able to see me blossom and grow. But we did meet because I was early in my own sobriety, and I was working at a sober living, and he was bringing by somebody. He was bringing by somebody to be there. And anyway, so my long lead into that is I would love for you to talk about your own sobriety a little bit, if you wouldn't mind.
Oh, okay. I've been sober since 1996. Almost sober 25 years will be in June. And it's been a long journey of, you know, Lynn and I were sitting down this morning having coffee, and I had this thought in my head, and I was thinking in meditation was basically, it seems like the whole journey of what I've had in sobriety has been this whole focus on finding and learning and understanding the relationship with my higher power, God or Jesus. And it's been this whole like new way of living through him. And it's been a journey of that. It's been, I mean, I've had problems. I mean, I've had a lot of mistakes I've done, and there's been a lot of great things I've done, you know, but in reality, I haven't done anything. It's all been, you know, for my God. And I love to take credit for stuff, and I know I shouldn't. And you know how I'm like, if you know you're humble, you know it, right? So I've been trying to let that go a lot this year, and it's been such a new way of living today after all these years of sobriety that I know that I'm still understanding this relationship with this higher power that I have. And if I have to look at everything I've gone through, that's really what it is, understanding what a relationship with my own God is, and be able to share it with people or be able to live as an example of it, which is not always perfect, but I'm trying on a regular basis. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Well, you are human. So yeah. And sobriety doesn't take away all your problems either. Obviously, we do know that.
Yeah.
But, you know, especially with COVID and everything that's been going on, I mean, it's just even like going to meetings isn't the same, or, you know, the way we communicate and share space with people is just not the same. And Lynn, as a teacher, your universe must be completely different as well as your students. And I would love for you to speak into that, because I'm sure that people that are watching have children or are a parent, or, you know, they could use some help.
Oh, I love that you asked that question. Thank you. Well, first and foremost, I want to say that I've been sober almost 3.5 years, so that's been a tremendous asset in my life, and I have God and my recovery to thank for that, and so grateful, because as I entered this school year in the fall, especially, online, full time, especially until October when we went back hybrid, I have never felt more stress as an educator, and I've got over 20 years of education with private and public combined. I've never felt it like I did this time. And I think the thing that was so frightening for me is that I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, I've got a master's in education, but this was a whole new ball game, and I think knowing that, I began to realize, well, if I feel that way, my students must certainly feel that way. And they're depending on me to walk them through this online learning well. And so what I decided to do, after I wrestled with this in my head for a good few weeks, and much of it was panic, to be honest, I decided that what the best method for me to do would to enter the classroom virtually with grace and understanding and compassion. And so the students and I really worked through the kinks, and there were lots, with technology and new programs and new curriculum. There were a lot of kinks, but I just could use it as an opportunity to walk through with them how we would do it, and just be kind, And I for my senior final that they had right before we got out of Christmas, they had a portfolio reflection. I'm an English teacher, so writing is my thing. And so they had this portfolio they put together. And the second part of the portfolio was a reflection on how they learned this year through online learning. What were their strengths? What were their weaknesses? What do they want to see different? And what would be some goals for next semester? And I was so blown away by their reflection and saying, and I'll say that 98%, this is for sure, 98% of my students, and I have 5 classes and I have an average of 30 per class, said it was challenging, but I learned self-control. It was a time when I had to learn discipline, from deciding whether I'm going to walk down to the kitchen and put on my, my picture, or I'm going to sit here and actually learn and listen. And the results have been phenomenal. The kids really said, I have appreciated it more than I thought. The distractions, of course, are real, but then as I would respond back, I'd say, but that's a part of life, right? We have to accept life on life's terms, and distractions are real no matter what you're doing. And so you have to choose, right, to be self-governed. And the students really, really owned that. And I was so blessed. One girl stayed after on my Zoom meeting at the last day of our class. And she said, I just want to thank you so much for making this such an amazing semester. In the 4 years I've been in high school, this has actually been the semester I've learned the most. And I mean, and I'm not saying that because I'm such a great teacher. I'm saying it because they took their part on and I took my part. And I think together it was actually a beautiful marriage. And I'm really proud of my students for what they've learned from this and what they're doing. It doesn't mean that there weren't some struggles, like internet connection, and things like that that would happen. But again, an opportunity for me to say, it's okay, let's connect after. It's okay, we'll make it another day later when it's turning in or what have you. And I think that it gives the kids an opportunity to be like, hey, maybe that's how I could kind of live my life too, to live with fullness and wholeness and kindness and consideration. And so it's been good.
So would you say that you've learned any new ways to deal with stress yourself during this time, or do you have your old standbys that still work well? And if so, what are those?
That's a great question. For me, my routine in the morning is to get up early. I spend a good hour in reading and writing and meditation and prayer. So that's been a super huge thing for me to do. Being in meetings on Zoom regularly so that I don't feel like I'm alone, like I'm the only one experiencing all that we are experiencing, and hearing from other people the same thing, knowing that I'm not isolated, right? Isolation is a killer for me. And being able to, have a partner to go through life with, to converse with and share with, and to simplify. Like, I'm surprised at how busy and full my life was. And I thought it was full of meaning and significance, and not that it wasn't, but this has put a whole new definition on that. And it's okay.
Oh yeah. I agree with her the same. It's the meditation and prayer in the morning has been my only little bit of an outlet that I have that's okay. And then I've been going to work a lot. So I've been working and at least I get to have people at work, so that's been really good. I work at a restaurant. I'm going to do a shout out. The Wind and Sea has been just so great there. We've been just slammed at work and busy, and I've been around people. So that's kind of okay, except with the mask. But I also still feel isolated when we wear that mask, because when you have that mask on, it's like you're isolating yourself and who you are in front of people. So it's still isolation. And I have a group, 3 guys. I call it, they're like my mentors. I stay in touch with them on a regular basis. I check in, and I have a beautiful little boy that I stay connected to, and I'm doing the best I can, try to exercise, and just keep doing what I'm doing. And I got to share this. I got a phone call this morning from a father who has a young child who has, he's doing his thing, smoking a little weed, drinking, and it's the same thing. He's struggling because the kid was playing sports, not playing sports. He's at home. He's isolated, and he's having a tough time. And the great thing I thought about it for a couple of days, like, what can I share? So what I did was I had a young guy that his name was a young kid, Randy, great kid, young kid. He got sober young. And so he was willing to make that phone call out to talk to the young kid himself. So, people will call, like, if anybody needs help, especially the younger kids. I have a whole group of younger kids that are sober and who've been down that walk, and they could they would love to to reach out and talk with them, and parents, I just try to encourage them to stay connected to their child, good or bad, just, do the best they can. And I think what parents don't do a lot, they like to talk a lot, but they don't like to listen. And I think it's really important to listen to your child. It's one of the most important things. It's hard to do when you're a parent. I totally get that.
I'll just chime in, Julianne. I'm a mom of 4 grown kids. My youngest is, 25. My oldest is almost 31, and I defaulted to control when I was scared as a parent, big time. And now I see my role as an educator as no, hands off. Yes, there are boundaries. Yes, I'm the captain of the ship, and I'm driving us where I know we need to go. But ultimately, I need to respect that they have a journey that is theirs. And I would encourage parents to let your kids have their journey. It doesn't mean it's going to be perfect. Doesn't mean it's going to be the way you want it to be, but loving them through it and caring about them and watching them see you exercise. And if you do pray. And if you do yoga, and eating healthy, and how do you simplify your life? That example has proven to me in my classroom role to be overwhelmingly probably more pronounced than when I'm actually teaching them in curriculum. And I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah, she's completely right about that, because she said that, and we didn't even talk about that, but I said the exact same thing, is because, and I said, you need to take care of yourself. Like, the parent needs to take care of themselves. And it's hard to do that, because what happened, the parents get crazy. They do all this stuff and makes things worse when they're not taking care of themselves. And I think they need to own their own part of their own life and work on themselves too, as the kid going through their addiction. And I think it's really important for that. Both of them need to be working on each, if one doesn't, it's really important that parents have self-care with themselves too.
Well, yeah, because a lot of times kids, they're just watching. You can talk till you're blue in the face, but they're going to pay attention to what you're doing. So I love that you mentioned that, because we always think that what we say is important. And I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying that how we're being in the world and showing up as humans really makes the most difference. And I'm really glad that you guys are talking about that.
It's not the part of them wanting to get high. Okay. It's the part of getting away with it and doing something that's wrong. How can they figure out, the parents know, but it's not a part about getting high. It's a part of, like, can I do this and get away with it because I'm not supposed to do it?
Yeah.
It's that whole feeling that you get before you even do it. That's better than the high. I mean, we all know what that is. I mean, if you're in addiction, or it's just that you go out and do something, it's like you get excited before you even do it, and that's what you're looking for. But the end result of doing it is never the feeling that you get in the beginning before you even do it.
Well, and I would just add that maybe a little bit of a different perspective would be that my experience is that students have so much pressure, often from parents. Society, of course, social media, all contributes to that and just layers it on these kids, and they don't know how to do it. They don't know how. And so what do? Well, they reach for the drug or the alcohol or whatever to just alleviate the pain, right? They can't manage it. And that's where this particular time of our lives is very difficult, because if they don't have sports and they don't have other outlets, then they're looking for one. They're looking for one to manage it. And that's the challenge. To be able to find ways that, like, we have to find ways to keep our wholeness and our health. We have to offer that to our young adults, and be creative with that and accepting of what it might be, which is often self-sacrificing on our end.
I actually get a lot of phone calls myself from parents asking, I have this child that maybe doesn't fit in their own mind. They're more creative, or they just don't fit in school. And some of them they were able to find like a new school or a new program or a new something. And then bam, COVID hits and all that's gone again. So now not only were they bad before, it got better and now it's not. And it's almost worse for them because they know what it can be and they can't have that right now. So is there anything that you've discovered that, or that you've noticed with kids that they like to do during this time that is healthy or that can help them feel connected?
I know that a lot of kids are gaming a lot, and the only good part about the gaming is that a lot of the kids are all doing it together. There's like probably 5, 6 of them. They're all gaming together, playing together, being connected together. You know, I'm not saying that's bad or not, but I know that's a part of what our younger generation. Because I do ask kids, "Are you like gaming with other kids?" They go, "Yeah, I'm with other friends," and they're all being connected, but not together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, from like seeing each other, but like on these times being connected that way. But in a way, it's shutting down. I believe it's shutting down our youth in a sense because it's making them very lazy. Because what's happening is that they could do everything here and not experience anything in life. You know,
Yeah.
they could go travel if they want. You know, they could watch a movie thinking that they were in the movie. I mean, everything is basically done, and it makes us lazy. You know, it makes us not want to do something. And we all know a part of addiction is really somewhat. I've worked with a lot of people, and the biggest part of it, of every person that I've ever worked with, has been sense of irresponsibility. And being, you know, a part of it is laziness, not doing what they're supposed to be doing because they don't want to do it. And if you're sitting in a chair looking at a screen, you're really not going anywhere. If that makes sense.
That's such a great question, Julianne. You know, having 4 kids, you know, one of mine was a full-blown addict, struggled tremendously. And then I have one child who had ADHD, and she was not my academic girl. She was my creative, you know, wow. Like, she ended up going to FITM, did not want to do like 4-year college. And, you know, that was her thing. And she's now a graphic arts designer, marketing. And you know what, when she was going through that time, I thought, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Like, she's going outside of the box. Like, what am I going to do with her? You know, and I was fighting it, you know, and now I look at her and I think, wow. So when you ask that question, I don't think there's an answer for anybody necessarily. It's going to be on an individual basis. But that's when I think as a parent, we have to look at our children and say, well, what is it that drives them? What is it that motivates them? If that's music, go with it. If it's poetry, yes. You know, if it's sports, find an avenue. You know, I tutor a lot of students outside of school, and it's fascinating to me as I go into these different homes, how different families are managing this based on their child's bent, right? How they're wired. And it's an astute parent that pays attention to that and doesn't fight it and lets it go at that grain, because in the end, it's going to be what it should be, not what we want necessarily, you know, but it will be good.
Yeah,
Well,
we just did a film with you in it. I mean, it was a very short piece, but it was follow your passions and your dreams. Because and I got my restaurant involved in it because it was just because they were so excited to share what their passions and their dreams were. And I honestly think that's really important, what you just said, to keep encouraging your child to keep following their passion and their dream. Keep pushing them to go follow that. Keep doing it. If you love surfing, keep surfing. You know, if you love to draw, keep drawing. You know, and I think it's really important for the individual itself to have something that they know that they're doing and they like doing it. But other people, you know, would say, "Oh, you don't want to do that, and that's bad," you know, and you know, when someone said I did something wrong, I say, "Okay, I'm wrong," you know, and I just go with it. I'm wrong. I'm wrong. But it's good that we feed or we say things that are a positive way to encourage and to lift, you know, and that's super important. I didn't have that growing up as a child. So it was really hard on me. And Lynn might have been different growing up, but it was really hard having such negativity, you know, and I wish I was more built up.
May I share one short story?
absolutely.
Okay, so I have one former student who was terrible in high school. I mean, she had like I don't even know how many absences. It was beyond counting practically. And I loved this girl, but she just was not into high school when she was in high school. So she spent over 4 years at a junior college. But I kept in touch with her and kept in touch with her. And when she was finishing up junior college, she was disappointed because she really wanted to go to Chapman University, actually, and study media and film. And I met with her for coffee about a year ago. And she said, with this whole COVID thing, it was, right around COVID time, I should say, actually. And she said, I've decided I don't want to do that. Like, that doesn't seem like a lucrative business for me anymore. And she said, but I've been babysitting and I've been a nanny for almost my whole, time of growing up. And she said, so I know I want to be an elementary school teacher. Will you write me my letter of recommendation? And I said, absolutely. And so she applied, got into the school of her choice, and now she's going to be an elementary school teacher. Now, looking at it as a parent, you'd think, oh, she's just babysitting, she's just a nanny, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? Now look what she's going to do with that. And she took a negative situation and turned it into something that will potentially be exponentially beneficial to all of those beautiful kids that she gets to teach.
That is so well said. And it's like life gives us little clues if we pay attention.
Oh my God, that's so right. That's great.
Yeah.
We do have to go to commercial break, so I'm going to bring you back in just a few minutes. All right?
All right. Thank you.
I'm so excited. This is such a fun conversation that we're getting to have today, and so many gems. I'm actually going to go back and watch this again myself. I do want to say hello to everybody who's watching. We have a lot of people today and a lot of comments. So thank you so much for joining, and feel free to ask your questions if you have them. But we do have to go to commercial break, and we'll be right back. Hey everyone, that was quick and easy, and I'm just going to bring back our guest because I'm having such a fabulous time. I don't want to waste any more time chatting by myself. Hey guys.
Hi again.
So excited to have you both here. There have been so many gems. It's ridiculous. I'm curious, with school, not being in session the way it was before, how are you still getting the stop before you start message out there?
Good point. Well, I just created a film just recently, a little fun thing for a middle school. And we did that at Red Ribbon Week, and it was be able to get passed around to a lot of other schools to do. And for me, for now, I've been dealing with hope. I mean, there's always hope, but Coast to Coast Coalition, we're hoping to be involved with them next year sometime to develop this national outreach throughout the states, and that's what we're hoping to do. UPS is one of my sponsors, so I always check in and send my community hours to them, and just getting phone calls from parents, connecting people with people, and but it hasn't been like I miss the person one-on-one in schools, and I just feel like everybody is just like, it's just strange. This is really just difficult times right now, and it's just different what we're living in. And I don't know. I know because I work in a restaurant, and the bar sales. I know that alcohol sales have gone up completely. I know that liquor's gone up 1,000. I mean, it's gone up the roof. People are not buying beer that much. People are actually going in the liquor stores today. This is from a source.
Mm-hmm.
They're not really buying the beer and stuff. They're just buying hard liquor, straight to the hard liquor. And the liquor has gone up, sales. There's fentanyl in like all the pills today.
Yep.
So it's like, we did drugs back in the 80s, which seemed to be fun somewhat, right? But then you do drugs today, you just end up dying quickly. And the younger kids don't know what they get today. I mean, everything's laced with fentanyl, and the kids somewhat know, and they're still willing to take that chance.
And even pot's not even the same anymore. Now pot is like ridiculously strong. And in the rehab industry, there's people coming in strictly because of their pot addictions. And it's serious business. I mean, people don't really realize.
Pot's really, I guess we missed the seeds. Because back in our day, you guys probably don't know, but a lot of it was all like seeds, right? Oh, you got a good one because you just took a seed in your throat, but it's like now it's like crazy stuff, they're finding so many different ways for people to not feel the way that you should feel, like own your feelings, right? Own your feelings, own how you feel, not like escape somewhere else to change a perception of something. It's just like, it's crazy. And I get that though, I'm not trying to judge that, but I totally understand that, but it's just living. And I think the key that a lot of people are worrying about, the past of things that happen. I think a lot of people are worrying about the future, like what's going to happen. And I think we forget about what's going on right in front of us. And if you really think about it, and you talk to these kids or people that are in addiction, if you ask them at that moment, are you okay? They're probably going to say, yeah, I'm okay right now at this moment. And that's what we had to, we got to stay in the present. And it's really hard because we worry so much as people,
That is a huge issue. So you mentioned something that my question comes from something that you said. And my question is, I know that you both are working a lot and, you have a lot on your plate. But how do you find fun? What do you do nowadays now that we can't necessarily do what we used to do? I know Danny likes to surf, but what do you do to?
We have a puppy, and we've been picking up poop, and she's been doing the pee, I've been doing the poop. So that's been pretty fun. I'm just kidding. We have a little puppy, and it's been just like, but it's fun. We miss her right now. We had to put her over there so she doesn't attack us. But
okay, but that's not the real answer.
It was funny though.
And actually, I actually got her because I wanted to make her an emotional support dog for my classroom, because prior to COVID, like I mentioned earlier, anxiety was a huge issue that I was just watching, escalate over the years. And I thought, what can I do? So that was the reason I purchased her. And I'm in the process of having her be that when I get back to the classroom. But for us personally, we both work out regularly. Like that is a part of what we do. Even when we were completely shut down, it was like we got bikes, and we walk and we exercise regularly, because for Danny and I, that's essential for our well-being. I'm a big proponent of healthy eating and cooking. So I do a lot of that, and that makes our lives, I think, that much better for the people that we're going to be working for, and that we work with, and that we help, so healthy eating. And then, like we said, we do our prayer and our meditation every single day. And we've learned to stop, during the day and pause and be like, hey, wait a minute, where are you going? Like, let's just have a moment, and just ask God to help us navigate through what's going to happen next, because we don't know, taking good drives and going places and visiting, colleges. We did, for a while, we went down the coast and looked at different schools, and just, we just try to make it and have fun and simplify and watch some great films, on Netflix and, your show.
We're going to go to Walmart tonight. We're going to go to Walmart, and actually we like doing that. Just cruise around, buy little things. And that makes me happy. That's what we're going to do tonight.
I love it.
Bring the dog, terrorize it.
It's the simple things. It's simple pleasures. That's something that my boyfriend and I like to do. Because, when we first met, it was right before the lockdown, the original lockdown. Mm-hmm. So now I'm with this new man in my life, and now we can't go anywhere or do anything. Yeah. We got to know each other really well.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. And, that's been another exercise in all of this, right? Is how well can you do a relationship? How well can you do that? And for us, it starts with me. It's not dependent on him. It starts with me,
Yes, I love that.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, we do. We tend to look outside of ourselves to fill up that emptiness that we have inside of us, and expecting another person or a drug or alcohol or TV or even food to fill that void, where it might work for a few minutes, obviously, but that's it.
Yeah. One of the things I love about recovery is like accepting life on life's terms. And I do not like that. Like when I first heard that, I was like, no, I want life to be on my terms. Like, it works better for me. Don't you all know? Like, if you could just go my way, it's going to be better. And wow, has that been a humbling and yet necessary pill to swallow. Yeah. That is helping me, especially through this. And I think, other people benefit from that I've learned, to accept life on life's terms, as I'm learning that, as I'm processing it, as I'm doing that on a daily basis, not perfectly by any means, but as we're learning to practice that and exercise that truth. It's made my life so much better. And then I don't want to, pick up a drink or eat the chocolate cake, or stay on the couch and watch 3 more episodes of, Queen's Gambit. You know what I mean? Like, I'm good.
Yeah, I watched that whole series. I understand.
That was me with the pills. Well, you said that was me with the pills as a child.
Yes.
Isn't that right up? My first overdose was vitamin C chewables. I was like, 4 years old, because one tastes good, and I just did the whole bottle because it was just, and I had overdose.
And that's, people don't understand, since we're all on sort of the same page with addiction, it's easier for us to chat about it because we understand it. We've been through it. We can see it now for ourselves and how it's affected us. But, that addiction doesn't necessarily go away. For me now, it's more like, okay, I had a cup of coffee and I got a little coffee buzz. I should have 10 more cups.
Right.
It's the putting on the brakes, or Queen's Gambit, for example. That episode was so good, I got to watch another. And then 10 hours later, I'm like, I was supposed to be at work. I'm kidding. But, in all seriousness, it is like that for a lot of people. And if you can't get a hold of it, it makes your life very unmanageable.
Well, we want to be a part of something. I think movies or anything that we're doing, gaming to movies to whatever you're doing, people want to be a part of something. And exactly. I think what Lynn, like, she listens to a lot of worship music in the morning that gets her mind somewhere else. I've been listening to worship music when I go to the gym or taking walks. So I've been doing that. It took a long time to get there though, but I've been doing certain things that just gets me out of the box, without the news or like things that are like negativity that's going on, I try to step away from that, you know.
The other thing I mentioned, Julianne, is like for me, I would situationally drink alcohol.
Mhm.
And then it really became progressive for me. And I know that not everybody's in that category, I understand that, but for me, it grew and it just got progressive. And so, I can even say that, it was fun, but then it became no more fun, right? It became fun with problems. And then it was just problems, as sometimes we hear. But it's scary because I think as a mom, I began to think that was my solution. That was my outlet. And I know a lot of moms today that, I'm associated with that think, that wine time is my time and it's fun time. And, I get that because I have done that and I'm not here to judge it. But for me, I didn't know that at some point I would cross that line into a dependency on that. And it scared me because when I did. And then I couldn't get rid of it, and I didn't know that I needed to just learn how to live with life on life's terms and to express my feelings in different ways and to have healthy outlets. I just didn't. That became my outlet. And that's frightening. And it's frightening for students too, because I know that some of them will say to me, I'm just smoking weed, Ms. Sanchez, I'm just smoking weed. It's not a big deal. Like, well, but then I have those students who come to me and they'll say, it is progressive. This is what's happened. Now I'm doing heroin and I cannot stop. And I've got football players who are coming up to me, tears in their eyes, begging me to give them a solution because they started out with that little thing and it just grew. And it's heartbreaking.
Well, addiction wants more. Addiction of anything wants more. I want this more. I mean, I want this. I want more. And the end result is death, usually.
Exactly. Or jail or institutions.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mean to laugh, but it's.
I just got a phone call from a guy that's in an institution from the same thing. He was sober a period of time. He just called from, I think he's in Folsom. I didn't get time to get the phone call, but he's in Folsom and he was sober, doing pretty decent, doing well. Decided to do heroin again. He robbed 5 banks and now he's in jail for 27 years. But, I think he's got another 15 more years left, but that's what usually happens. They do really well in jail.
Yeah.
They do great. They're just like, I'm here, I'm doing great, I'm doing everything they tell me to do. They get out, they get high, they do the same thing, go right back.
Exactly.
So how can we change that?
Exactly. And I think one of the main reasons why I think it's so important that we're having this conversation today is because we don't know when it turns from something for fun to something that's a necessity. And it doesn't look the same for anybody. So like for me, I was not a gutter drunk. I was not like the person that, was homeless and all this, and I wasn't an everyday drinker either. So it took me a long time to realize, oh my gosh, I'm a raging alcoholic here, and and that there's another saying in AA, once you're a pickle, you can't go back to being a cucumber. So, but when you cross that line, it's just now it's a dependency and it's a lot harder to stop. And with COVID, a lot of people are picking up their drinking, and it makes it easier to cross that line. So that's
for sure. It's a disconnection from people.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people not show up anymore to, meetings online, and my heart goes out for them, and I hope that they're doing well and all that. But yeah, and it's I think it brings it back to the same point I brought up earlier, which is like it almost doesn't matter what situation you're going through, right? It doesn't matter if you're a student online, if you're a teacher, if you're, a waiter, if you're a TV host, like life hits us all in different ways. And we don't get to decide how that goes, but we do get to decide how we're going to walk through the challenge and overcome it, with hopefully with integrity and dignity for ourselves, because we matter and because we're worth it.
Oh, I love that. We are running out of time, but I do want to give you a few minutes to share anything that you want to share. I'm going to put up, this is your phone number, right, Danny?
Yes.
Okay, so for anybody who needs to get a hold of, there we go. There we go. And then also stopbeforeyoustart.org. So I'll put that up in a second. Are there any parting words of wisdom, or how can people help? What would you suggest for family members that maybe are noticing an issue with someone?
There's a great video on YouTube that we did, and I just suggested it to a family member today that was suffering with the kid, with their kid, and I thought it was great. I thought it was really good. So I did this video. When we did the documentary, I had this idea that maybe we should have addicts talking to their parents. And what I got out of the film was 14 minutes. And the lady that starts it off, her child died from a accidentally drug overdose. And what happens is that, to what I've seen with addicts, is that there's a disconnected between kids and their parents. I don't know. There's something that happens. There's a disconnect. And when they get disconnected, they seem to go the wrong direction, and they find that outlet that they're looking for. And in the video on YouTube, it's really good. It's really good. Oh, I got it. But it's if you go to Stop Before You Start, it's a 14-minute video. It's about it's the parents piece. It's for parents. And I would recommend that for parents. It's really good.
Is that something, just out of curiosity, is that something that that they could look at if they're trying to figure out if there's something they should be looking for?
Yeah, it's just awareness to them. It's awareness to them, because when I watched it, and this was 5 years ago, I watched it and I went, oh my gosh, I need to be connected to my child. I need to be able to love him unconditionally when he does something wrong, and just be there for him. I just need to know what's going on. And it just made me realize, because all these addicts all said the same thing. There was a disconnected with their family, and it has to do with lack of love, and it just made me want to just be a better parent to my own child, to stay connected to him. And we all know that connection is a part of what's going on with us. We need to be connected. And what's happening with this whole this COVID is making us disconnect. It's been really hard on everybody. And but they can always reach out to me. I have younger kids, and that could help them. I will always make myself available for anybody, And
I can attest to that. You do. You always have. What would you recommend to somebody who is maybe thinking that they have an issue themselves, and now that they can't necessarily go into a room of Alcoholics Anonymous, do you want to mention where they should go or anything like that? Suggestion?
Well, the first thing is that they need to be able to find someone that they feel comfortable with, and they need to talk with them. They need to find someone that they could trust or talk to, and be honest. And I think in those words of being honest and being humble, I think personally, if you could do those things, that something will happen, in a sense of like, there will be a next step. Like if somebody comes to me with something, and then there'll be a next step from there, and it'll be like a process of a journey. It's not one person's going to save you, but it's the process of all of us working together to help each other. And that's what my road of recovery has been. And so it has Lynn's, and it just takes that one step with that person who needs help, is to be able to be honest with, and find someone that they could talk to. Exactly. And see where it goes from there.
That is really well said. Well, thank you. I really appreciate you both being here today. It has been such a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, I just adore everything. Literally, I'm going to watch this again. I don't think I've ever said that before.
Oh, well, we take great great pleasure and the privilege of, doing what we do to help others. So thank you for your program. We're so grateful to be here.
Thank you so much. Have a
Thank
great
you
night.
so much.
We'll see you
Bye.
soon.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Oh, I just adore that. They were such an inspiration, and there are so many gems, especially what Danny said. It does take a village, and you can't expect one person to save you. You can expect help if you ask for it, but you do have to do the work yourself. But anyway, this is going to be one of our last episodes before the end of the year. But New Year's Eve, we're going to be back, and I've got a very special guest, the ambassador of joy, Mr. Barry Shore. But until then, have a great night.